Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the ships at sea, welcome back. It is the Boom, Buck, and Blue podcast. It's been entirely too long. I always say that. It seems to be that I keep continuing to say it has been entirely too long since our last podcast, but it has been a while. But give us a break.
Yeah, give us a break.
It's been the holidays.
We're like, we do have lives outside the podcast. I've got kids. Jimmy's got kids. Ryan's got dogs.
And work.
But yeah, I mean, it is way too long. However, we've been a little busy with the holidays too, but now
that we have. By the way, Happy New Year. Hopefully
New.
this year will be much better than this last one.
Listen, it's not hard.
It's not starting off great, but but I digress.
Yeah. Hey, 2021, you got the easiest fucking job ever. Just be better than 2020.
You know what? I take it back. If we're talking about sports, it's starting off great for me.
Yeah, it is.
And the year ended great for you.
I know it did.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how 2021 lasts. But I mean, vaccines getting out there, so hopefully by this time next year when we're talking, we're not even talking the vaccine, and we got full crowds again, and we're back to normal. It's kind of
yes.
We'll be good.
I completely agree. So we're kind of going to do a little bit, excuse me, we're going to do a little bit of reversal here. Normally we save the sports, stories of the day for the end of the podcast. We're going to start at the beginning here because we got a lot to talk about.
True.
Because
wait 1 second, real quick.
Monday.
First off, Jim.
Yeah.
Brian, we miss you.
Who's Brian?
Brian.
Never heard of her.
Brian Bramsauer.
Brian Brussels sprouts.
Brian, I like that. I might start that. Hey, Brussy. He can call me Russ. I'm going to call him Bruss.
Russell.
No, Ryan's at home taking care of his family in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Had some family issues that he had to go deal with. So he'll be back. Next time we do it, I think he's going to be back in Colorado here in like 3-4 days. But
yes. Yeah. He said next week sometime. So
yeah, so fuck him.
We'll be back at it.
Better when he's not here because I hate him. No, wish he was here.
That just means we're not going to talk about Penn State or Dallas that long.
Oh, trust me, I'm gonna just give some shout outs to Ryan during this one, just some fun. So, but yeah, so starting this year, we are college football we do sports, but college football is our biggie. So we will start off, Jim, with the big one, Clemson, Ohio State. The massacre that was that game. And even you
can't hear it. You can't hear it, and there's no video, but I'm smiling.
No. And I think
this one, oh dude.
Well, I think even for you, I mean, talking to you before the game, I don't think anybody expected that.
No, I did not expect it.
Yeah.
I was thinking Ohio State had a chance, right? I've been watching Ohio State all year, so I know what they could do. I was nervous because of performances near the end of the year, right? Particularly Fields is, because we had talked about it. The main focus of the offense for Ohio State was Justin Fields.
Right.
He's our best player by and far, and there's no doubt about that.
No, there's not.
So he needed to be safe. He needed to make sure he wasn't getting hurt or anything like that. And I was concerned because he didn't have a great performance against Indiana, and he didn't have a great performance against Northwestern.
No.
Thank goodness. By the way, OU, Russ, thank you.
You're welcome.
Trey Sermon is great.
Yeah, about time. Preach.
Yeah,
preach.
honestly.
Yeah. No, against Northwestern and Indiana, threw for 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, only completed, I think it was like 52% of his passes. Ran the ball decent against Indiana with almost 80 yards. But yeah, the decision and the interceptions, it wasn't like there were tip passes or, just...
Yeah. It wasn't tip drills. It
was bad throws.
They were bad throws, yeah.
And so, yeah, like going against a Clemson team that's had a very dominating defenses in the air. Um, Seeing those bad decisions, I was just like, man, if he makes one or two of those against Clemson, it's going to go downhill very, very, very quickly.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Um, and he did the complete opposite. He went beast mode.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
He made and I have a reason why I think that was. Um, one thing, so Clemson historically, their defense has been great. Their defense is not as good this year as it has been in the past, but nobody's defense this year was as good as they have been in the past. Like, that's just the way it is. Defense is usually playing catch up.
OU takes exception to that. Just saying.
That's fair. That is very fair. That is a fair point. OU jumped, and we talked about that on the last podcast.
I'd like to take exception to that, but
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
yeah. It doesn't happen very often.
Fair enough. Okay,
but OU's defense was better than Ohio State's defense this year.
Oh, yeah.
And
we're better than
which is very impressive. I will give you that.
Yeah.
Now,
well,
but Alabama's defense was not as good this year as it has been in the past.
I think like the surprising thing with Clemson's defense, like their front four, even against you guys, their front four did not play bad. They didn't play great and dominate, but they didn't play bad. Their secondary was trash. Like,
yeah, that was really surprising.
Yeah, like you guys got behind them time after time after time. It's like that video that I showed you with the West Virginia and Oklahoma thing, where the player just ran right by it. Like you guys just kept running right by him, and I think it was, we talked about it a little bit during the game that Clemson hadn't played anybody with outside speed, nobody that could blow the top off them. Everybody they could
no. Not at the wide receiver position.
Right.
No way.
So their secondary was used to being able to stand flat-footed and turn and run with somebody when the other team had like a 10-yard sprint. Like they could still turn and run with these guys. They tried to do that with Olave and Wilson, and that did not work well at all. They're way too fast.
Yeah. We've got 4.3, 4.4 speed across the board.
Yeah, they're
at the wide receiver position.
They're burners.
And I'm gonna give you a hot take when we get to the actual national championship game. But I digress. So one of the things that I also wanted to bring up is the reason that I feel like Ohio State had such good success against a very good Clemson defense.
Yes.
Is because, and I don't know if you heard much about this, but have you heard of the Clemson Tigers and sign stealing?
I've heard about this, yes.
Okay, yes. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm against sign stealing. Here's the fact. If you are giving signs and your opponents can read those signs
that's your own
and make
damn
adjustments based on that, that is your fault.
That's your own damn
That
fault.
is you handing them your playbook.
Yeah.
Like they have film.
Right.
What Ohio State did really well was hiding their signs. They huddled. Ohio State doesn't huddle. Ohio State hasn't huddled since Jim Tressel.
Yeah.
Since 2010. And they huddled this game, and they did a really good job of breaking the huddle, disguising their scheme, because their scheme wasn't anything different. It wasn't any sort of trick plays left and right. It was regular plays. The one trick play, I think, was, and you probably not reminded, but you got to understand, I've watched the game a couple times now.
Yeah.
And it was early on. Justin Fields kind of breaks off to the left, flips back, throws back across the field to Jeremy Ruckert for a touchdown. And Jeremy Ruckert wide open.
Yeah.
I think that's the only trick play that Ohio State actually, and it's not even a trick play.
Yeah, I don't think that's really a trick play. That's just...
Yeah, exactly. That's the only kitschy thing that they did, but it wasn't even that kitschy. It was just he got open in wide space and Justin saw him and threw it to him. Mixed with what, like you said, not being used to playing anybody with, outside speed like at Ohio State.
Right.
And losing Skalski, their middle linebacker, to that targeting call,
which
that was big. That was a big deal.
Yeah, and with that, and everybody talks about it, like with this targeting thing, by the law of the land, that was targeting. Now, was it malicious or anything like that? Absolutely not.
No, I don't think it was malicious. I don't think he was trying to hurt Justin.
Yeah, he did not go in trying to hurt the guy. By all means, it's just kind of like, I think we were talking about it during the game. You said, it's just kind of like muscle reactions. Just these kids are used to doing it, and sometimes on the thing you're used to doing, like the way you tackle, if the runner just does one thing, then it becomes tackle or targeting, regardless of you do the same thing 99. If you do the same thing 100 times, one guy just moves his head down one time and it's targeting. It's just
Right.
so they do need to change the rule on. I mean, you could tell when it's malicious. You could tell when somebody vaults into somebody's head with the crown of their helmet, looking to knock their fucking block off.
Yeah.
You could tell it. So I think they need to edit that rule, by the way, to be like, okay, yeah, like he give them the 15-yard penalty because it was targeting, but don't eject him unless you think it's malicious.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we've had this conversation about
that
same rule for a while.
Well, yeah,
like
when
I remember when they first brought. Yeah, I remember when they first brought it out. They didn't even review it. Like they would call it and then bye. That's it.
Yeah, that was ridiculous too.
That was ridiculous.
But yeah, so that's a little side squirrel. But yeah, losing that guy did hurt. But even when he was in there, I mean, would he soften the blow? Sure, he's a great football player, but it wouldn't have changed the outcome.
No,
but
it doesn't hurt. But I agree with you. It doesn't change the outcome.
Yeah, it doesn't change the outcome.
That's me just repeating what you said. That makes me sound smart.
You're welcome. And so one thing that I did find interesting, though, and it's just a testament, and because I know we're going to talk a little about Ohio State, but I do want to talk a little bit about Clemson, and the man, the myth, the legend, the god, Trevor Lawrence. After that game, I was like, man, Trevor Lawrence just.
He played his butt off, dude.
Well, I just think I was like he played till the end, but I was like I don't know. I just didn't seem like he played like a great game. It's like that's
what did he have? I think he had one interception, 2 touchdowns, 400 yards.
Yes, and then I went
like 48 times.
Yeah, then I went and looked at the stats, and I was like, he completed 70% of his passes for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and in my mind, that was not a great game. I was like.
Right.
Yeah, this guy's good.
He's
good.
really good.
This guy's
he's
good.
really good.
This guy's really good. And so I think what's going to be very interesting, very, 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 very interesting going forward, because Clemson has had this vaunting team, this domination, for the last 6-7 years since back to Deshaun Watson, right?
Yeah.
But this year, Notre Dame and Clemson showed how you beat Clemson.
Wait, what?
Notre Dame and Ohio State. Notre Dame and
okay.
Ohio State showed how you beat Clemson. If you look at the numbers of Clemson, their rushing game is identical on their 2 losses. With you guys, 22 attempts, 44 rushing yards for 2 yards a carry, and then against Notre Dame, they ran the ball 33 times for 34 yards. For 1 yard. If you shut down their run game and make them one-dimensional,
you got a shot.
You can beat them.
You got a shot. You have to score, obviously, because that's what happened. Clemson was prepared for Notre Dame round 2.
Yes, they were. They were ready for that.
They made a change.
But I mean, it's gonna be, and I say that. However, I mean. And granted, Dabo's done a good job at recruiting, but I mean, they're losing Trevor Lawrence, they're losing Travis Etienne, They're losing a couple wide receivers. Clemson will probably still be good because the way they recruit, but the team next year is going to be completely different than what we saw this year.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest, they're still probably going to be top of the top when it comes to the ACC.
Yeah, that's not saying a lot.
Like Miami might have a shot. North Carolina could still really good.
But they're losing both their running backs.
They're losing their running backs, though. They're tremendous running backs. Yeah. By the way, they're both amazing.
Yes, they are.
And I think a couple teams are going to get steals out of them. They're going to be quietly really good pros moving forward.
So speaking of Ohio State too, one of the things that we were talking to the game, was, and you brought him up, Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon.
And his.
Oh, by the way, officially. Now an Ohio State legend.
Oh yes,
anybody on this team, you're in. Ohio State fans are going to love you forever.
And if he
and root for you.
If you guys could win the game on Monday and he runs for 150, 200 plus yards again.
Oh, even.
He's going to go down in Ohio State lore for what he did against Northwestern, Clemson, and Alabama.
Yep. 100%.
But so I was thinking about it, and I was like, Trey Sermon, because he's got another year with this COVID stuff. I was like, man, he should, because he didn't get the bulk of the carries till late in the season because of Master Teague. But understandable, Master Teague's a good player, but I was like, man, you give this guy a full season.
And he wasn't doing great. It took him a little while to knock the rust off.
Yeah, well, I mean, you
showed me. His yards per carry went up every game.
Well, it did. It would go, but I mean, the rust at the beginning was averaging 4.5 yards a carry. That's rust.
Right. Well, and it was against Big Ten teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, man, he should stay another year. Well, then, because I was like, man, if you get the full year, like you're talking, holy crap. Well, then I read Mel Kiper today.
Okay.
You want to talk about boost and draft stock? Granted, there's some guys definitely have, like Jones from Alabama, Wilson, BYU. Trey Sermon has bumped up to the third best running back on Mel Kiper's board.
I did not see that. I haven't seen Mel Kiper's board yet. I'd only heard that he put Justin Fields 15 going to New England.
Yes. Well, yeah. But yeah, he has Trey Sermon up to the third best back. I mean, granted, I can't really think of many backs next year, but I mean, you can't get much higher than that.
No.
So at this point, like where his draft stock is, I mean, fucking go, dude. He needs to go. Like you're not gonna get much higher than that. So I like when I saw that, I was like, yeah, sorry, Jim. He needs to go to the league where it's now.
No. And that's the thing is like him coming into Ohio State this year with the running back room being not having much experience in it. Like our most experienced running back in the running back room is Master Teague, and he was a true freshman last year. Mm-hmm. So bringing in Trey Sermon, who has those reps, has those big game reps in D1 college at OU, it was just a wealth of knowledge, and I'm glad he came over.
Yeah.
And again, he doesn't need to do much of anything. Well, I mean, if he, like you said, if he runs for 150 yards and helps us win a national championship, of course he's enshrined in Buckeye lore. But I mean, he's kind of already there.
Yeah,
and that's what happens. And Ohio State fans, if you come to Ohio State and you play your heart out and it doesn't work out and you move on, they tend to continue to root for you, except for Tate Martell.
Oh yeah, he's a dick.
But like Joe Burrow, like Ohio State was rooting hard for Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, a lot of people do. I mean, not all, but I mean, from what I can tell, like when Jalen Hurts came to OU, majority of Alabama fans were rooting for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, granted,
the good Alabama fans.
Yeah, the good Alabama.
Same thing with bad OU fans and bad Ohio State fans. That's just how it works.
So yeah, well, moving a little forward on this, we talked about.
Hold on. I don't want to move on real quick. I just want to we were talking about Justin Fields, and we completely glossed over the fact that with that targeting call, he was down and he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, I saw him. I mean, I think everybody saw him trying to throw the ball on the side in the wince.
Yeah. He winced. You could see it. You could read his lips. Like he threw it. And he's like, fuck.
Yeah, it hurt.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why he's getting such high praise, is because he did what he did while injured. Well, hurt. He's not injured. He's hurt.
Yeah. He was definitely hurt, and I mean that hit. Oh God! Like right when it happened, I winced. I was sitting on my couch. I was like, "Oh God, that hurt."
It was violent.
I thought he was.
And
done.
one of the things I want to talk about before about the targeting call is like you said, it needs to be worked. It needs to be fine tuned. Mm-hmm. I'm not against the rule, because the rule itself it doesn't just protect the person who's being hit. It protects the person who is laying down the hit.
Yes.
Because I go back to Ryan Shazier, former Ohio State linebacker, former Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker, who lost his career because he lowered his head, bruised his spinal cord.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just.
Well, and I said it and Justin Fields, first off, dude can move. Very fast dude.
And he's not small.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's 6'3", 230. And when you get a guy that big moving that fast, and then the other guy is massive, and you
Skulson's even bigger.
Yeah, the collision was going to be huge regardless, but when you meet that with your spine, that is just so dangerous.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I completely 100% agree. It is to protect protect the player as well as the player getting hit, the hitter and the hitee.
Yes.
But yeah, I think they need to add another little caveat about malicious or not malicious, and just give that to that's got to be up to the ref. Did he mean to hurt him? And there's, like I said, there's the ones you can tell when somebody lowers their head, jumps off their feet like a fucking missile right into somebody else's helmet.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah, that he went in to hurt that dude.
Like that OUDB against the LSU receiver last year.
Yes, that was targeting. That was 100% targeting, and that was on a block too. But he went in to hurt him.
Dumb. Yeah.
Do you have anything else about the Clemson game? I know you talked forever.
Yeah, it is. It's the first time Ohio State has beaten Clemson in the history of the quote-unquote rivalry, even though they've only played 5 games. Stemming back to 1978 was the first time they played in a bowl, and that was when Woody Hayes punched that linebacker.
Oh, yeah.
He got fired.
Yeah,
He got fired.
I saw that a lot leading up to that game.
I'm sure you did, as usual. And then it just snowballed from there. But I'm like, I posted on Instagram just a picture of the final, posted out by Ohio State Athletics, and I tagged it, I wrote on it. I just said, finally. Like, I hate Clemson. I don't like Michigan, but I hate Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson doesn't. I mean, they don't really bother me that much.
Right, I know.
I mean,
that's just me.
Yeah, I know. And I get why. I mean, Dabo. There's times that I like what Dabo says, and there's times that I'm like, "You're a goddamn idiot, Dabo." Like I've got a very love-hate relationship with him, with my feelings for him. Like sometimes he says stuff, I'm like, yes. When he started the bring your own guts. Like when he sat there, and he's like, "I love this team. I told him you're gonna have to bring your own guts." I was like, "I like that, coach. I like that." And then the stuff he was saying about Ohio State before this, I'm like, "You're an idiot. Shut up.
Yeah,
stop."
When he ranking them 11 is clear disrespect.
Yes,
like it's clear disrespect. And when they asked him, he said, "Oh no, that it wouldn't have mattered. It would have just been that's where I would have put anybody from the Big Ten." Bullshit.
Well, he said anybody that didn't play 8 or 10 games.
Right, but also at the beginning of the year in September, he said, "No, you can't fault those kids. You can't." What did he say? He said, "You can't punish those kids because they worked their tail off and it's not their fault." But then he did exactly that. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. It's coach's poll, but whatever.
Yeah, I think
it's just that. I think that's what bothered me the most. And then when he was asked about it at the end of the game, he reiterated, "So yeah, that's where I would have put them. It has nothing to do with how good they are." I'm like, all you had to say at that point was, "Yeah, I was probably wrong to put them at 11." That's all he had to say. Yeah. And this whole thing is done. But no, he couldn't say, "Oh, whatever. It's whatever. We're moving on." Moving on.
So moving on. So obviously, we all know Ohio State moved on. On the other side,
Alabama, Notre Dame. Hey, I mean, this is the Notre Dame we know and love.
Well, it's a combo of the Notre Dame we know and love that usually gets the shit beat out of them in big games. But good God, Alabama. Good fucking God, man. I mean, the weapons that they have on offense is astronomical. Astronomical. And the fact that they've done it without Jalen Waddle. Like, I'm not taking anything away from Smith. Fantastic football player. Very well deserved the Heisman this year. Mm-hmm. The first 4 games of the year, Waddle was the better wide receiver. If you look at the stats, Waddle's better.
I remember that.
Yeah, Waddle is better. Waddle, for the first 4 games that he played, tallied 4 straight games of 120 yards receiving. And, I mean, he was a returner before Smith. Like he was the punt returner. He was like Waddle was the guy. And I mean, well, I think what it was, he was averaging 22 yards catch, which is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every time he catches the ball, he goes a fifth of the field.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. That's crazy. You just mathed the shit out of it and blew my brain open.
Yeah, like, oh, he catches the ball and he goes a fifth of the field every time he catches the ball. That's just fucking ridiculous. And then like that, and then you add on Najee Harris, which is probably. I mean, I love Breece Hall. I love the way Breece Hall runs the football, but Najee Harris is hands down the best running back in the country. Even the way Trey Sermon's been running the ball, Najee Harris is the best running back. And Smith. And they went out there and they just beat the shit out of them. Like, I had the game on, and so here in Oklahoma, it snowed like 6 inches that night, the night before the games. So I was cool with it because my wife was like, hey, like my son, and like his two friends and their parents were going to go over to, because we live on like a 3-tiered backyard. So we have hills. So I was like, oh, we got some sleds. The kids are going to come over and go sledding. I was like, all right, cool.
Nice.
I was like, cool. I don't really care about the Alabama Notre Dame game. As long as I can watch Clemson, Ohio State the day, I don't give a shit. So I put the game on. Right when the game started, kids came over. I went outside and helped them sled for about, I don't know, what seemed like 10 minutes. And then I walked back in and looked at the score, and it was already 14-0. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yes.
I was like, okay, well.
Yeah, I remember that. I turned on the game. I didn't watch the whole thing. I turned on the game, and it was it's like it had only been on a couple minutes. Like it's 14-0. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna get ugly. And guess what? It was very ugly.
Yeah, it got very, very ugly, very, very fast. And I mean, Alabama. Like I watched all into the fourth quarter when I could. It was ugly as shit, and Alabama let off the gas big time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like they did not have pedal to the metal the whole game.
What was the final? It was
31-14. It was 31-7, and then Alabama scored in the last with 50 seconds left to make it 31-14. But it was pretty much 31-7. It was a 24-point game the whole game
because it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close because like Alabama was at 31, and I think Notre Dame scored early. So in the first half,
they scored it was 14-0 in the first quarter. Notre Dame scored early in the second quarter. Then Bama scored three more times, and then Notre Dame scored with literally 56 seconds left. They scored to make it 31-14.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that 14 is it's a red flag. You look at it, it's like, oh, there's like 56 seconds left. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
they're down so much.
Alabama let off the freaking gas. But I have to, like, we were talking about Najee Harris. Did you see the hurdle?
I did.
Most of the time people hurdle and, they get tripped up and they kind of stumble like a couple yards or something like that. He hurdled and then ran like 40 yards, 45 yards after that. And I'll take it, like, I was watching SVP afterwards, and it's just funny. Like, he was like, yeah, I was watching this, and my daughter was sitting there watching with me, and she just goes, Daddy, he just jumped over another man. and his SVP was like, I could do nothing but chuckle and go, yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
There's I was telling you before we started about that channel, SEC Shorts. That was one of the things that they brought up. It was one of the guys like, hey, who's this? And he's like, is that a grown man jumping up over another grown man to run in for a touchdown?
And
he goes, yep, that's it.
So this is a man at 6'2", 230 in full pads. Just jumped over a dude. Yep. It's like, whatever. So yeah, they Alabama smashed him. It was not surprising. Which does bring a very, moving on to the big one, the Monday, the main reason we want to do this podcast. The game on Monday. Like, this is one of the most interesting matchups that I can remember. Two juggernauts, two blue bloods.
Yep.
And I don't know what the fucking over-under is, but I'm taking the over.
Yes. Yeah, you want to take the over on that one.
I don't even know what it is, but I'm taking the over.
Yeah, so with that being said, I did want to go over some stats.
Well, let's hear 'em.
So it's interesting. It's not necessarily a hot take. It's just an interesting thing. So Ohio State currently.
By the way, the over-under is 76 points.
Yeah, take the over on that one.
Yeah, I still take
the over on it.
I still take the over, but they're expecting it to be 38-38.
Yeah. In terms of, I want to start on defense. Historically, Alabama, Ohio State definitely known for their defense.
Yes.
This year, neither team are particularly very good. Alabama is leading the way with only allowing 19 points per game.
So I will say, though, on both these teams, they're very similar on defense. Their front seven is very good, and their back end is where the weakness is.
Right, that's what shows when I go over the breakdowns here. So points per game, Alabama's leading the way, only allowing 19 points per game, ranked 13th. Ohio State 31, only allowing 20. Allowing 22 points per game.
Where's Oklahoma? I'm just gonna compare Oklahoma to all you bastards. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You look that up. I'm gonna keep talking.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm kidding.
Rushing. When it comes down to like passing, the back end of it, DBs. Passing. Let's see, yards. Alabama is ranked 79, allowing 242.9, basically 243 yards per game. And this one's going to be crazy because we were talking about Ohio State DBU, right?
Yeah. No.
Ohio State's giving up 281 yards per game for 116th.
Well, yeah, and that's with a guy, Shaun Wade, who's going to be a top 10, top 15 draft pick.
Right, and to be honest with you, didn't play like one.
No, I mean,
did not play like a top 15 draft pick.
No,
his talent is there, his potential is there, but he's primarily been that slot DB, like he's covering the slot because he's got the size.
So it's gonna be interesting going forward. We won't know the answer to this question for 3-4 years. But with Alabama, not just Alabama, but Georgia and LSU, Auburn, Florida, these passing yards, they now have Lane Kiffin, and they have Mike Leach in the SEC. Mike Leach did not have good years his first year. Right. At Washington State, it took him 3 years before he started getting his players in there to do what he wants. But with these high-powered, like the SEC offenses are now catching up to what the Big 12 and the Pac-12 were, and some of the Big 10. Like Ohio State was there, Penn State's put up great offense.
Minnesota from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Or from last year.
Minus Alabama and LSU last year, but I mean, SEC offenses are high-powered, crazy numbers. Now they've got some guys in there, the coaches that can do that. So I wonder if this is going to be a trend with Alabama and other teams like that. They're going to start giving up the booty when it comes to the passing game.
I'm not going to lie. If you go back and you look at the trend, that's just a trend across college. The team with the best defense doesn't necessarily win the championship because the team with the best defense might not have the best offense. It's usually the team with either the best or one of the best offenses in the country.
Very true.
And a semi decent defense.
Yeah. Oh no, that's very, very true. Unless you have an Oklahoma defense and you're not winning the national championship, but because we can't stop anybody. But
that's why it's so frustrating that you guys had a good defense this year and you dropped 2 games.
I know, it's so mad, and we had a great offense too.
God bless America.
I would love to see our team in there. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Ohio State and Alabama are two great football teams. And again, I'm not saying OU would win, but I think we'd give you guys, either one of you, a run for your money.
It'd be interesting. I don't disagree. I watched OU against Florida, and I know we're going to go over that game a little bit later, but yeah.
Yeah, they look good. But yeah, so I think this is going to be a trend. I mean, and the Big 12, like, it's happening, and it's really, really funny, and I brought it up with the LSU team last year, and it's not. Trust me, I'm not trying to take anything away from Joe Burrow and Chase and Jeffries in that team. They were fantastic, but like LSU did what they did last year, and because of the SEC dick sucking. And yeah, I'm going to say it. The dick sucking that the SEC is, everybody like, oh my god, this is amazing. And
it's first. Yeah, that's not even.
And then we talked
it's
about.
not even behind closed doors. That's open.
Yeah, and we talked about it before we got in here. If you guys didn't know, the 2018 Oklahoma Sooner team was the most high-powered offense that ever set foot on a field. What was it, Jim? You said they averaged 8.2 yards a snap?
Per play.
Yeah.
They were averaging over 8 yards per play.
Yeah, they snapped the ball. They had three guys, like Trey Sermon was there, Kennedy Brooks. Mm-hmm. Trey Sermon was at 947. He was 50 yards away. If he would have had 50 yards, they would have had three 1,000-yard rushers. They had Hollywood Brown, now with the freaking Ravens and tearing it up, who had 1,400 yards. They have CeeDee Lamb tearing up the Cowboys at 1,400 yards. But they just, when they did it, it was because it was bad defense. Not because they were ridiculously high-powered. It's because it's bad defense. LSU does it, and it wasn't because there was bad defenses. It was because...
It's because it was unprecedented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Joe Klatt said it something that, like, when they're talking... Like, the ESPN announcers were talking about LSU and going nuts, and he was like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to take anything away from LSU because they're great. He's like, you guys realize the Big 12 has been doing this for, like, 7 years now.
Yes.
Like, all of it.
I love Joe Klatt, man.
I do too.
When he brings his takes, like, they're for real, and they're followed by fact.
Yes.
So I love it, man.
Yeah. So I just want to get that out there that the SEC offenses are catching up, and these vaunted SEC defenses, they're not as vaunted. Like, even Alabama, like, granted I go to Oklahoma because that's what I remember, but in Ohio State when they played Alabama and beat them. They put up numbers. When Oklahoma played Georgia and Alabama, don't get me wrong, we lost. But we scored 48 points against Georgia and like 38 against Alabama. Yeah. It's not like they were stopping us. We just couldn't fucking stop an ant just like walking down the hall. We couldn't stop that. So these vaunted SEC defenses are not as vaunted as they used to be. Not even close. I don't know how, like, continue with your stats, Jim, but yeah.
So, and I agree, and that was the thing is you had said it multiple times. Can you imagine this OU team, with a semi-decent defense?
Yes.
Right? Just make a few stops. You don't need, if you're, bend don't break is still a good defense, but, just make a couple stops. They couldn't make a stop.
No, like we literally those days we literally thought we had to score every single possession. If we didn't, we were going to lose the game.
Exactly. Yeah, you had to score every single possession because you knew you were going to stop them.
Yeah.
Now, and considering that you guys, like I said, you guys dropped 2 games, so you're out of the playoffs. I mean, the road was there, but the door was closed pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
But I wanted to go real quick again, talking about the SEC.
Yeah. Go back.
Servicing, as you will. Oh, you know what? I'll save that for when we talk about your game.
Okay.
There we go. But yeah, stats. So defensively, neither team, they're very up and down. They're not as good as they have been in the past. But they're similar. Like, let's see, Ohio State's given up 5.6 yards per game. 5.6 yards per play per game. And Alabama's given up 5 per game. Or 5 per play per game. And they're, like you said, they're very similar. On the front 7, lots of experience, very good. Now, offense. Offense is the one that is very interesting.
Well, before we go to this real quick, I would like to say, and I don't disagree with you on that, because the defenses aren't what they used to be. I do think the big difference between the defenses between this playing Alabama and playing Clemson is Alabama's linebackers, Dylan Moses and Christian Harris. Dylan Moses is an absolute fucking freak.
Yes. I remember seeing him on the cover of ESPN, the magazine, when he was 15.
Yes. He is a freak.
15.
And Christian Harris is a freak. And they can go sideline to sideline in the blink of an eye.
Yes.
And I think that's going to cause you guys some problems. I mean, they cause everybody problems.
No, right. Yeah, and I don't disagree. Like, in terms of front seven, Alabama's is light years ahead of Clemson's. Like, Clemson's got talent. Clemson brings in talent. They recruit.
Hey.
There's just no doubt about that. Hey.
Talent.
Anyway, but the difference is with Clemson's front seven is it's a lot of inexperience.
Right.
Like, they were very young on the defensive line. Their middle linebacker who was deemed ineligible because he was a senior, and I think their two outside linebackers were like sophomores.
Yeah, but even that the linebacker that we talk about from Clemson, like, don't get me wrong, he's good. He is not Dylan Moses.
No.
He is not Dylan Moses.
He's So, but right. Yeah, so I agree with you.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
Like,
Ohio State's front seven is not necessarily their defensive tackles, Haskell Garrett and
I like your guys' front four, and I like Alabama's linebackers.
Yes, Ohio State's linebackers are not as good on the talent level when it comes down to athleticism, but they make up for it with experience. They're all seniors. Baron Browning, Tuff Borland, Pete Werner, and Justin Hilliard, who is like a 15-year senior now. Like, the three of them, they have experience. They're just not as athletic, and so they're not as good, but there is experience across the board, and you can't coach experience.
No, you can't.
No. I give Alabama the edge on the front seven on the defensive side. That's for sure. And like I said, when I was talking about passing yardage, pretty comparable.
Yeah,
pretty comparable. I mean, Ohio State's is not as good as Alabama's, but still. Anyway, so offensively, points per game, Alabama is number 2 at 48.2 points per game. Ohio State's number 5, 43.4 points per game. Total offense. This is the one that was a little interesting to me. Ohio State is number 4, Alabama number 6 in total yards per game.
Yeah.
But if you're going average, then Alabama's number 1 at 7.9 yards per play per game.
Jesus Christ.
And Ohio State is number 4 at 7.5 per play. Now, here's something that I thought was really interesting. What is Alabama's bread and butter this year on offense?
Well, first off, you can't say that. Their offense is their bread and butter. I mean, the
wide receivers. No, I'm breaking it down. You can totally do that. You can say, what is the best part of Alabama's offense?
I don't know if I can tell you that. Because
I could tell you. And it's not even close.
Okay, what is it?
Alabama's passing game is by and far the best part of their game.
I mean, you say that. I mean, but they also have a 1,400-yard rusher with 24 touchdowns.
That they do, right? But they are averaging 350 yards in the air and only 185 on the ground.
Well,
their passing game is by and far. I mean, their best wide receiver just won the Heisman, for God's sakes.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't really call it a bread and butter.
Right. Listen, I understand what you're saying, but you're being dismissive by the point of me saying that I'm just breaking down the two aspects of the game.
Well, okay, yeah.
I'm not saying they're bad at rushing.
You're saying that Alabama,
obviously they're good.
Alabama throws the ball for more yards than they run the ball. Sure. Yes.
Okay, you say
Sure.
okay. Okay, now here, let me tell you about Ohio State. Ohio State is averaging 272 yards passing, and you know what they're averaging on rushing?
272.
272.
Well, yeah, but okay.
And I'm not saying one is better than the other.
But the argument on that is take away the last two games and where are you?
Take away. I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say. I mean, the last two games, you guys have ran for like 600 yards.
They've been averaging around the same balance wise. Ohio State has in rushing and passing pretty much all year, except for Northwestern. Northwestern was the only one where you didn't have a comparable. Northwestern, Michigan State, and now Clemson.
Oh yeah, so Northwestern.
But even then, like Justin Fields, I think he threw for 380 yards. I got to bring up the box score. I can't remember rushing. Well, but that's the thing as well. When it comes down to, and what I was trying to say, I'm getting back to it. You're getting me off target. The idea is Alabama's bread and butter. Well, I don't say bread and butter. The better aspect.
Yeah, that's a better thing.
Like they're 1 and 2. I'm not saying their offense is bad. I'm not saying their rushing attack is bad.
Well, that's what I say. Their offense is their bread and butter. The better aspect, sure, but their rushing game is still out of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that it was that. Well, I shouldn't say I was surprised by it. I just thought it was interesting that the separation was that much. It's almost 200 yards difference.
It is.
Considering Najee Harris is a monster.
Yes, he is.
Like I'm not dismissing Najee Harris. And it might have something to do with the fact that Justin Fields is because he didn't rush that much this year.
I don't know about that.
He didn't run the ball that much. He didn't run the ball that much this year. So I don't know, because Mac Jones is not running the ball. He can, but it's
No.
But he's
I don't even know if he
primarily
can.
he's a passer.
I
don't know his stats. I think about it.
So here, look at this. Mac Jones has ran 31 times for 3 yards.
Yeah, so no, he's not running the ball.
Right.
And I just thought it was interesting that it was that separate.
Well, so and I think the difference here is, and the why you see such a parity, I guess, is the mass of the weapons Alabama has versus Ohio State. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ohio State has Wilson and Olave, and those two are fantastic. Their next leading rusher has 140. Your tight end's only got 12 catches. Your running back's only got, the leading running back catching the ball is Sermon at 12 at 95. Mm-hmm. Jalen Waddle played 4 games, and he almost has as much yards as both Wilson and Olave. And Alabama's got Smith, obviously, who's got the 69 yards. John Mechie, the third, he's got almost 850 yards. Najee Harris has almost 400 yards. Another running back.
Receiving?
Yes.
So what you're saying is Alabama's passing game.
Well, I was gonna say they
is their bread and butter. Right
no, well, I can't say
it's just their total offense.
Yeah, they have it's easier to throw the ball around a lot more when you have weapons everywhere. We've talked about it with Ohio State to end, and it finally came out at Clemson. Like the whole season, we're like, "Where's your fucking tight end?" We're like, Does Ohio State even have a tight end? Don't get me wrong, they did play better, but
no. I don't think it has anything to do with them playing better. Like,
or targeting.
They just don't throw. Yeah, they just don't throw to the tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, so like looking at it, like receiving wise, Wilson has 40 receptions. Olave has 42. The next highest in yards is James Williams, and he has 8.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty obvious where the fucking ball. If Justin Fields drops back, one of 3 things is happening. He's running it, he's throwing it to Wilson, or he's throwing it to Olave. One of those 3 things is happening. But I think that is kind of where the
that's where the gamesmanship comes in.
Yeah,
that's where calling the right plays at the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I think that's why it's more. Alabama has more yards. the plethora of weapons for Alabama throwing the ball is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Just kind of, we got some other things to talk. So let's get to the biggies, because I know we'll probably talk about 5 minutes each at least on predictions for the game. I'll start because this is your team, so I'll let you go last. Like I said earlier, I'm going to go with, obviously, take the over. Both these offenses are stupid high powered with weapons everywhere. And defense and secondary, which both teams can throw the ball. The secondaries need where it hurts.
Yes, yeah, that's their weak points.
Yes. I will say, looking at it, the two top cornerbacks, there's the one is Sean Wade, and you talked about he has not played like a top 10, top 15 draft pick. Not that he's not going to get there, or not that he's still not going to be drafted there. He just doesn't look like it this year.
Yeah. And you're talking to an Ohio State fan.
Yeah.
I would love for him to be, the DBU tradition to keep going, but I don't know.
Right. Patrick Surtain has played that way.
Yes. It's hard to knock down. It's hard to track down DB stats because, if he doesn't have interceptions and he doesn't have swats, but he's also not being targeted.
Right. So he's got 35.
He's not going to have those numbers.
He's got 35 tackles, 12 pass bat downs, 1 interception with 25 yards reception. The one pick he had, he took to the house.
Yeah.
And he just shuts down. And Malachi Moore is another defensive back that is very, very good freshman. He's one. He's got 3 picks. 30. He's got 3 picks.
30 picks. I'm pretty sure that's a record.
That's got to be some kind of record. So,
I just imagine. Sorry, I just squirreled. Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls, when he's got the slinky down the gigantic set of stairs.
It's got to be some kind of record.
Isn't this incredible? It's gonna be some kind of record.
It's incredible. Okay. But so looking at it,
pretty hot in these rhinos.
It's the best scene ever.
It's the greatest scene ever.
Looking at the two teams, I'm going to take Alabama in this. Now, granted, I did say yesterday to you, Jim, and I do agree that if the Ohio State team that showed up against Clemson shows up, Clemson could very well, or Ohio State could very well win that game. They could very, very well win that game. They look like one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country. However, I've only seen that once, which is a little daunting. And looking at the defenses, we talked about, how they are. So, it's going to come down to the offense. Okay, so when I'm looking at the offenses, it's all right, better quarterback. All right, I'm going to give the better quarterback to Ohio State and Justin Fields. Granted, Mac Jones is great, and it's not a big step down, but I will give it to Justin Fields. Running backs, I'll give that to Alabama. Offensive line, I'll give that to Alabama. Wide receivers, I will give that to Alabama. Or we'll say, not wide receivers, we'll say passing weapons, because tight ends, the whole shebang. I will give that to Alabama. Especially if Jalen Waddle plays. If Jalen Waddle plays, that is going to be incredibly dangerous for Ohio State. Yes. With how much he can blow the top off it. And, I mean, you have a hard time shutting down one wide receiver when you got 2 wide receivers on each end. And then at the slot, you've got a guy who just caught for 900 yards and 7 touchdowns. It's just overwhelming. There's just too much. So for that, I'm going to go with Alabama. I think Ohio State is talented enough. They come to play. I think they're going to be there right at the end. I'm not confident. They played 3 ranked games, and only one of them they really showed up to play. I haven't seen this team except for once. With that on top of, it's just not smart to bet against Nick Saban.
I get it. Not that Nick, my feelings.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I was not saying that Nick Saban doesn't lose, because he does, because he's human and he's a coach, but he just doesn't lose a lot at all.
Yeah.
And this team's not going to have the revenge factor from 2014 All those players are gone. Saban will remember, obviously. But all the teams are gone. So anybody that says this, revenge factor from the,
that's the other thing too. It's not even the same. I mean, there's a few people on the coaching staff, but
yeah, so
a lot.
anybody else will bring up the revenge factor. Like, no, that's all players are gone. Coaching staffs maybe 5.
This is just two like blue blood programs going at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ohio State, Alabama. You're going to be fired up. Also, I will say, I was thinking about this earlier. Not that Ohio State's not going to be fired up for a national championship. Obviously, it's a national championship. Like you talked about, and you smiling, the players were the same way. The coaching staff was the same way. The Clemson game was fucking personal.
Oh yeah,
it was personal. Alabama's not personal. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're going to be fired up. But it's going to be hard to match that. As much as you want to get fired up and they will be pumped, there's not that extra oomph that they had against going up against Clemson. Like the like last year, what you're saying about us. Yeah. So, I think that will play a factor. Give me Bama and the over for the love of God. I mean, I'd say somewhere probably.
The over-under's at 76.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bama probably will be around 45, 48 points. I think Ohio State will be in low 40s, high 38s. Like, touchdown, 10 points games. Give me, like a 48-38 game.
What's the spread on this one? Last I think I heard was 7 or maybe 8.
Let me find that. You keep talking, and I will look that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into my predictions. Yeah, and I don't disagree with any of your statements whatsoever. Alabama has clearly been the best team in the entire country all year. Mac Jones he's a Heisman finalist, and he's a very good quarterback. Like you said, not much of a step down from Justin Fields. I give Justin Fields the edge, and I'm sure you agree with me.
Yes.
Because Justin Fields can run the ball.
Yes, exactly. Alabama 8 is the spread.
Okay. I am obviously going to go opposite. I'm going to pick Ohio State to win the game in a close one, probably similar to yours. Ohio State, 45-48, and Alabama in the low 40s, or maybe even decided by a field goal. If it goes into OT, that'd be amazing. Yep. and here's why. I don't disagree with you in that the momentum going into the Clemson game is different than going into the national championship game in that it's not personal.
Right.
But it is the national championship game.
Right. This is going to be fired up.
I don't think there's any external forces bringing motivation into this game. I think they're both going to come in. The difference being Ohio State's got some momentum coming in. They're but momentum can be killed, but I think that's going to bring them in hot. Alabama's defense, and I talked about it. Alabama's defense is, except at the linebacker position, it is not great. And I bring up their championship game against Florida.
Right.
Florida passed the ball for 408 yards. And Kyle Trask is a very good quarterback. But again, I don't think he's Justin Fields.
Right. And real quick on that.
And to be fair, Florida did have more receiving.
True. And so real quick, just to bring it back to Penn State. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, Ryan. That was for you.
He doesn't listen to our podcast.
Oh, he does. He listens to it. No, but I will say, honestly, but I say bring it back to Penn State. I'm going to bring it back to Oklahoma. Don't get me wrong. Oklahoma's defense is a lot better. We said that, but it's not shut down. Alabama gave up the booty to Florida. Oklahoma shut down that offense. So that just kind of tells you where Alabama's offense is. Like, we're better, but we're not great.
Right. But, and this is the reason I bring it up. And I say Florida gave they put up 408 yards passing against Alabama, but they're only giving up 54. And the argument usually to that one is that they have to pass more because they're playing from behind, and they were. They were down 35 points at the half. Oh no, they were down 35. Like Alabama had 35, Florida had 17. So they're not passing the ball. They're running but Florida's offense on rushing was bad all year. you
Yes.
give Ohio State a bit of an advantage on that one because their rushing game is hot right now. Trey Sermon is running mad.
Oh yeah, he's scolding hot right now.
He's scolding hot, and it's going to be interesting if he and my thought was if he can average around, and this is not really a hot take, if he can average around 4.5 to 5 yards per carry, and he gets about 25 to 30 carries, that puts him at about
100.
About 100 yards. If he's over 100 yards, if he's able to run the ball successfully against Alabama for over 100 yards, I give Ohio State the edge in that one. Because they're going to score. Like at that point, they're unbalanced. They got to worry about both, right? And the same thing goes with Ohio State against Alabama.
Yeah, and that's where I think the linebackers are going to come into play. And that's where it's going to be interesting. And then it's going to come down to your offensive line being able to get to the second level and put a body on those two.
Yes, yeah. And I agree. And to be honest with you, I give if you're going straight up.
I lost Jimmy.
Okay, we're back. We had some technical difficulties, but I was continuing. I was talking about how if Trey Sermon was going to be able to run over 100 yards, I think Ohio State has a chance to win. Offensively, it's going to come down to whose defense is going to give up the least amount of points. I mean, duh. It's difficult.
Okay.
It's difficult.
Okay, Jesse Palmer.
I know, right? Yeah. He could either make it or miss. But it's I think with Ohio State being balanced on passing and rushing gives them an advantage just because you have to worry about the other one. The only difference is comparing Ohio State and Alabama's offensive line and defensive lines. I don't know who I give the edge on that one. Because Ohio State's offensive line was definitely better than Clemson's.
Offensive line?
Yeah.
Alabama's. Hands down.
I don't know the numbers. I got to look at numbers like QB pressure.
Well, so
I don't
know, but like I looked up the top rated offensive lines voted for by ESPN. They had Oklahoma 6 because I know you want to know that. No, they had Alabama 8, and I think they had Ohio State like 13th or 14th.
Okay, it's a weird year.
It is.
It is a weird year, and I'm not going to sit here and say Ohio State played against better defenses than Alabama because that's very not true.
Right. Well, and one thing that I do want to bring up that
Oh, I didn't. Are we? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. I still want to give my score prediction.
Oh, well, yeah, give your score, then we'll talk about the game. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, like I said, I think I'm going to go Ohio State. I'm going to go Ohio State 48, and then Alabama.
If you say 38, I swear to God.
No, I wasn't going to say 38. I was going to say Alabama like 45. It's going to be tight.
Field goal again.
Yeah, like a field goal. Yeah, I say whoever. And to be honest with you, that's not with the utmost confidence. Like I understand how good Alabama is, and I understand that Ohio State could lose this game. If Ohio State's going to lose, I want it to be close. I want it to be competitive.
Right. And one thing like about excuse me, this that I think I don't know, and it's really hard to say because Justin Fields is an incredible talent.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to play in the league, and he's going to play in the league for a long time.
I'd sure damn well hope so because history is not done well for Ohio State quarterbacks.
Hashtag Dwayne Haskins.
Hashtag Cardell Jones. Hashtag JT Barrett. Hashtag Braxton Miller.
Troy Smith.
Oh, jeez. Craig Krenzel.
Let's just go down the line. QBU. No. So
Yeah, hey, 11 Warriors, get your shit together. Come on. Ohio State fans don't even think Ohio State is QBU. Get the hell out of here.
it's true. Oh, so I think but I say that because I think he's incredible talent. I think he can do better. But so when he played Northwestern in Indiana, he did not play well.
No.
And he threw some very bad balls.
Well, I was gonna say those are the two best teams that they played against before Clemson.
Right. When they played Clemson, hey, I'm watching the team right now. Buckeyes just arrived.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, they arrived today.
Yeah, they're showing it on ESPN right now.
Game's on.
But yeah, the game is on.
Yeah.
It's happening. So I just don't trust. It's hard for me to trust Justin Fields' decision making if Alabama can get pressure. He didn't have that problem playing Clemson because he didn't have to make 5-10 yard passes or passes over the middle through a tight window. He just chucked it fucking deep. And don't get me wrong, it was in the breadbasket, and it was right. It was a perfect read and everything, but it was over the top passes. Like Ohio State hit like 30-yard pass, after 40-yard pass, after 50-yard pass. Like it was just idiotic. But when he had to keep it short against the other teams, he did not do great.
I agree.
Which and I don't know the reason behind that. It could be.
I don't have insight, but I have a guess.
Okay, let's hear it.
You look at it, you say you don't trust. Well, you say you don't trust his ability to make decisions under pressure.
I say it's hard for me to trust. Not that I can't. I don't. Okay. It's just hard for me to trust.
I don't have that same. I have trust in him a little bit more than you do. Granted, I have way more tape in my mental memory than you do because I've watched every single game he's played at Ohio State. And I look at those games as the anomaly, the outside. Other than that, he's usually really smart with the ball. The only thing that he has had in those games where they were bringing the pressure a little bit more, he's been holding on to the ball a little bit too long. And because he was trying to wait for things to develop, and he was trying to make the big play. And against Clemson, they were just there. He didn't have to wait very long because they were just there. And I don't think that's going to happen against Alabama. The other thing is he was not running the ball very often this year. A lot of the things he was doing was he was trying to do just with his arm. When he, like you had said it early on, it's like he doesn't need to hold on to the ball. Just make a couple reads. If nothing open, go. Right? And he was not doing that. Now
it needs to go 1-2. Right. Check your running back. Take off.
And I don't think that was because I think that was by design early on because they were trying to keep him safe. Now this is the last game. Like all bets are off. The playbook is open. So
right.
And I'm not saying that's gonna give them an answer, but you look at what they did against Clemson, which is the number 3 team in the country, they were number 2, the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, they're number 2.
Yeah, and you see the results. Like when the playbook's open, it's open. So it's going to be interesting. Like you said, I'm definitely what I guessed put them at the over. So I'm definitely taking the over on this one.
Yeah, no, I definitely take the over.
I get it. I understand.
Yeah, it's just, don't get me wrong, you guys have looked good.
All of your assessments, me being a good Ohio State fan who understands the weaknesses, and like I said, I know the weaknesses are there. I'm not saying like you're full of crap, because I don't take it personally when people criticize my favorite football team.
Right.
I get it, and maybe I'm looking at it in an optimistic manner, but that's the way it is. I have seen more good from Justin Fields than bad.
Yes. Yeah. If it comes down to a scoring battle, to me, uh, I think it's easily Ohio or Alabama. I mean, we just talked about the Notre Dame game was a slaughter.
Yeah.
And they let off the gas.
Yeah. If I were
And
gonna
that
put
was
if I were gonna put keys to this game, sorry to interrupt. If I was gonna put keys to this game, it comes down to you're very likely not going to be able to stop the passing game against Alabama because, like I said, that's what they do.
And again, from
better
what
than
I've said,
the other.
from what I've read, and we don't know it's game time decision, but from what I've read, Jalen Waddle is practicing, and people are saying he looks good. It's looking like Jalen Waddle is going to play.
Right, I get it. Like, but what I'm saying is
I'm just saying
that the key to
so I'm saying that passing offense just got better.
Right, but the key, but what I was getting at was moving back was the idea of being able to stop Harris, which is easier said than done. If you can limit him and then be able to score, which is possible.
Well, I mean, what do you consider a limit?
Under 100 yards, no touchdowns.
I was gonna say he's only had one game where he hasn't had a touchdown.
I know,
and he ran for 125 yards.
I know,
and had 30 yards. So
I didn't say it was. Listen, it's not crazy, but at the same time, it's a tough.
It's not crazy. Well, it's not crazy. I'm just saying it's not going to happen. I think that if Ohio State wants to win the game, and it's not impossible for this, they need to get a turnover or two. I think they need to win the turnover battle. If Ohio State wins the turnover battle, I think they'll be right there and they can win the game.
Yeah. I look.
If Alabama with hit their offense and all their weapons, if they win the turnover battle, I think you guys are fucked.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
Just because you can't give that offense extra possessions.
No, you cannot. Yeah. I agree. But we've talked about that before. You get yourself behind on turnover battles and then give up points off those turnovers. You're basically cutting off your own leg.
Well, yeah, but like if the turnover battle ends like 1-1 or 2-2 or something like that, okay, whatever. Turnovers happen, but if you keep it like that, you're okay. Mm-hmm. If you're giving them up but you're forcing them, you're fine. But if you start getting to the 2-0, 3-0 against Alabama, and I'm saying that, but it is vice versa also. If Alabama gets 2-0, 3-0 against the turnover battles can be huge.
Yes.
And if one team gets behind, it's tough. It's tough sledding.
No, I get it.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah. And that's the thing we're the one thing that I would say that we definitely agree on in this whole sense is Ohio State's got a shot. They're on the field. They have a shot.
Oh, they 100%. They 100%. And I told you that the night of after you won. Don't get me wrong. Alabama has been ranked number 1, and they're the best team in college football. And they have been the entire season. But you can never win a national championship
if you're not
unless you step foot on the field.
Yep.
And you guys will get that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so for that fact, you got a shot.
It's going to be it's going to be really interesting to see the offensive game plan. Defensive game plan, I'm not as interested in just because the two offenses are so good. So yeah, it's going to be real interesting. I'm hoping for a win, man. If I could see Ohio State win 3 national championships, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, no, and yeah, we'll see it. And don't get me wrong, I'm pulling for you guys.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But if you asked me, gave me $100 and said, "Hey, put this on a team,"
you take the over. You put it on the over.
No, I said put it on the team.
Oh no, I got you.
Yeah. And you said put it on a team. I'm putting it on.
You say, all right, I'll do that, and then you go into the bookie and you're like, hey, give me the over, because that's definitely.
I go to the casino and I just put it all on black and let it ride, motherfucker.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes, passenger 57.
No, actually, side note, but one of my favorite casino moments ever, Jason Delmar. I know he doesn't listen to us, but Ryan, you listen. You know Jason too.
I know Jason too, man. What the hell?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying Ryan's listening. Yeah, you're here. went to Vegas with Jason and his now wife at the time, and we were at a casino. I think it was Circus. Jason was like, "Hey, let's go," and I was like, "Where are we going?" And he's like, "Just let's go," and I was like, "Okay," and we just went over to the roulette table, and Jason put it all on black, and I was like, "Dude, you serious?" He looked at me, he goes, "Dude, scared of money don't make money. Hit red." He just looked at me, he goes, "Don't tell my wife." It was the funniest shit I've ever seen.
I love it. I love it.
All right, man.
By the way, have
wife.
you heard the Pat McAfee story of going to play golf with Peyton Manning?
I don't think so.
Oh, you need to look it up. It's glorious. It's so good, and it's not crazy to think that it's true.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's so fun. It's so good. Yeah, look it up. Go look up Pat He did a stand-up bit about it. So he's told the story multiple times. It's hilarious.
Because Pat McAfee's fantastic.
Pat McAfee is fantastic. All right, so moving on.
So moving on. Other bowl games.
Yeah. Obviously, OU, Florida.
Massacre.
But Ross, I thought Florida played their last game 11 days prior.
So this is my funny thing that I like to bring up.
How much of an idiot Dan Mullen is?
Well, he is, but like fucking SEC fans and stuff, they're like, "Oh, well, they're missing this guy and this guy and this guy and blah blah." And don't get me wrong, they were, and I'm not saying those guys wouldn't make a difference. But OU is missing Kennedy Brooks,
yep,
a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Hazelwood, who's one of the highest-rated wide receivers ever to come out of the state of Florida, who didn't play all season. Our tight end Stogner, who is going to be an NFL wide receiver. Our defensive back, who just picked the ball off against Iowa State, one of our top seeds. Like, we were missing people all over the field too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like we were sitting there with no injuries, no opt-outs, no nothing. We were missing people too.
Mm-hmm.
So, shut up and get on the field and play.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I hate this.
And I thought Kyle Trask was the best quarterback in the country. But
and if you watch that game, those passes and those interceptions had nothing to do with the wide receiver.
Yeah,
it's not like they bounced off. They just OU jumped the route, or it was a bad throw. Like, it had nothing. Like, the wide receivers would not have changed this interception.
That's because OU's really good defense. OU has a defense.
We do have a defense. Alex Grinch has brought the defense to Oklahoma. The college football world can be put on notice now that we have a defense and we've always had an offense. So we'll see what's going to happen going forward. But that game, Spencer Rattler looked fantastic. All of our running backs, like Ramondre Stevenson, was obviously the star.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of one of the games that, like when people were talking about Texas A&M, like, oh, well, are they going to show the committee where they belonged in the college football playoff? To me, OU just did that to the college football playoff.
Yes.
Committee. Because we lost 2 games at the beginning. Granted, we shouldn't have lost those games. Iowa State, we get it because they're a good team. Kansas State, we shouldn't have lost, whatever. But Ramondre Stevenson did not play the first 6 games of the season, including those 2 losses. He went to an SEC defense and had 18 carries for 186 yards.
Correct.
Like 10 yards a carry.
By the way, a bad SEC defense. Florida's defense.
Yeah. Ronnie Perkins, who just declared for the NFL draft, wish him the best. Mm-hmm. He went in, had a sack and a tackle for loss. We were missing some of our best players. And now that we're at full strength, I mean, put me on. I'd go against anybody else. But Ramondre Stevenson, look forward. But what I loved about the game, seeing Marcus Major, he's a guy that people are talking about, just the way he runs. Not saying he's as good, but his size. He's 6'2", 220. People like think of kind of a little smaller Adrian Peterson the way he runs, and then Seth McGowan. Our running game looked great against Florida. Wide receivers fantastic, defense fantastic. Dan Mullen asshole.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so that's the
Absolute
thing.
asshole.
Not only is it incredibly dismissive on how well of a game that OU put on the field that day, it's incredibly dismissive of his players that were on his team. It's like, no, we didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, like, we talked about it after the game. Like, all Dan Mullen had to say after the game was, tip my hat to Oklahoma. They played a great game. Incredibly proud of the players I put on the field.
Yeah.
All you had to say, man. That is all you had to say.
That's it.
But he said that they played their last game at the SEC Championship and they put a scout team out there. If I'm one of those Florida players and I hear the coach refer to me as scout team, because they were only missing like 5 or 6 starters.
Yeah, they were missing their top 3 receivers and I think 2
a linebacker.
defense.
Yeah, there's a linebacker and defensive lineman. So they were missing like 5 or 6 starters. So, I mean, there were still 17, 18 starters out there. And Dan Mullen referred to them as scout team.
Mm-hmm.
If I hear that, I'm beyond livid. Like, that's what you think of me? Mm-hmm. You think of me scout team? And I will say, bragging about the OU players, Isaiah Thomas, the defensive end, one of our best defensive end. He's coming back next year. Guy to watch. Side note, Isaiah Thomas, defensive end. I think he was 8th in the country this year in sacks with like 8.5, 9 sacks.
Nice.
In like
That's
years.
A lot.
But, yeah, he's very, very good. But they asked him about Dan Mullen's comments about the scout team. And all Isaiah Thomas did was look at it and goes, hey, all you recruits out there, just FYI, my coach would never do that.
Mm-hmm. That's a great response. And he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
We talked about it after going into the bowl season with all the crap talk. Going in like the hubris getting to. So let me start over. We all know the reason that we don't like the SEC is because they usually are looked at as being superior by sports media, but also the superiority complex that they have amongst their fan base. Right. Their fan base is, for the most part, trash.
Oh yeah, like who's it? Fucking Miller. You remember Miller from DM?
Which one?
Black guy that's great at softball.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so he was a Mississippi State fan. I remember talking to him back then, and he's like, "Yeah, the college football playoff should just be 4 SEC teams."
Oh yeah.
And he was dead serious.
Yeah, I've had this same conversation with C, who was in my office. He's like, "Yeah, SEC should have at least 3 teams in there," and he was dead serious. Like, the fan base is trash. Yes. Now that hubris or that cockiness is getting into their players and their head coaches.
Yes.
And you don't want that in your head coach. And of the, you talked about Lincoln, and Lincoln Riley does not do that.
Most coaches don't.
Yeah, the really good ones don't.
Well, first off, Nick Saban doesn't.
Nick Saban does not do that. Urban Meyer never did that. Ryan Day, granted, he's only been a head coach for 2 years now, but he doesn't do that. Lincoln Riley doesn't do that.
Mac Brown, Mike Gundy. There's a lot of them that don't do that. But
Bob Stoops
the SEC
never did that.
But Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops barely gave us fucking credit.
And that's why they have that length of domination. It's because they never take the team that they're getting ready to play for granted. They don't take them lightly. It's not we're going to go out there and we're going to do it. It's just if you take any plays off, you're running or you're cut.
Well, and like one of the things that I hate and why I hate the SEC the most is when they get these big bowls, and this they didn't want to be there. That's why they lost. First off, if you don't want to be there, don't accept the fucking bid.
I agree.
Let Coastal Carolina or somebody else, BYU, some of these smaller schools go.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to be there, don't accept the fucking bid. But for like this one, especially the Cotton Bowl, people are saying, "Oh, well, Florida didn't want to be there."
Why would you not want to go to the Cotton Bowl?
Well, first off, it's like, okay, why? Because you lost to an unranked LSU team, and then you got beat by Alabama.
They lost to Texas A&M as well.
But well, yeah.
You're three losses, man. You're not getting into the playoff.
Well, first, but I mean, like, let's get real. Like, we talked about it. Going into the playoffs, Oklahoma, if they weren't the hottest team in the country, they're top 2 or 3 hottest teams in the country.
Yeah, they were playing their butts off since Texas.
Oh, yeah, they're playing lights out.
Since Texas.
I mean, do you think that those players would rather be in the college football playoff?
Sure.
Absolutely. I think that they would rather be in the playoff, and I think they deserve to be in the playoff over a Notre Dame. But did they show up to play the Cotton Bowl? Oh, they showed up to the Cotton Bowl, and they showed up to whip some ass. And that's what most teams do.
Mm-hmm.
This whole, I didn't want to be there. Fuck off.
Get out of here.
Quit using that as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
There is one team in the entire country, not SEC, one team, in the, all conferences. Alabama is the only team that if they use that, I'm still going to be mad because it's bullshit, and I think Nick Saban's better than that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've been to they've played in 7 national championships in the last 12 games. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
You've earned that right that you just you belong in the college football playoff. Okay, I get that. Florida, I don't know when the last time you played a goddamn you haven't played a national championship since Urban Meyer.
2007.
Texas A&M
beat Ohio State, by the way. Badly.
First off, okay, I'm gonna go on a little rant.
Hold on. I'm ready. Let's rant away. Go.
Fucking A&M. A&M can kiss my fucking ass and your fans. You sit there and talk about how you're so good and blah, 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 blah. This is your first 11-win season. This is your first double-digit win season in 10 years. You've had double-digit wins twice in 25 years. You sit there and dog on Iowa State and Oklahoma for possibly being above you, saying we play in a weak conference. Motherfuckers, you were in our conference for 20 years. You made one Big 12 championship to win, and that's it. You can't call us a weak conference when you were in our conference and you didn't do a goddamn thing. If you would have played in our conference and won 8 of 10 championships or something, I don't know, Oklahoma's done, then yeah, okay, I get that. Then all right, yeah, you can call us weak. But when you were in our conference for 20 years and you won a championship, you didn't play in a conference champion in the last 16 years that you were here, don't call us weak. You were here. You couldn't cut it. Step the fuck back. And to think that you guys are, for some reason, I don't know why, A&M fans think they're college football royalty. And I don't know why.
It's because they're really coordinated when they sway in the stands.
Yeah.
And they don't have girl cheerleaders.
Yeah, I don't know why. A&M, you don't belong in these conversations. You're a good football team. I'm not saying you're a bad football team.
They're a very good football team.
Yeah, you're a good football team. Year in, year out, you're a good football team. But you don't belong in the Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson's, Georgia even. You don't
Are we talking about in historical context?
Well, I'm talking about in the last 10, 15 years.
Oh, yeah. No.
You do not belong in this conversation.
No. They're trending in the right direction, that's for sure. Because to be honest with you, if I were to swap out any team from the playoff, it would be Notre Dame. Notre Dame would be out. Notre Dame got in because they beat Clemson early on. Plain and simple.
Yes.
Yes. If I were to swap out any team, it would be Notre Dame. and it would probably be with Texas A&M. I mean, they
So-
would still lose because
Yeah,
they'd be playing Alabama, and they already got dog stomped by Alabama.
Yeah, so that's the only reason I would I would put Notre Dame, and it was no questions asked. If Notre Dame, I would put Oklahoma above them because Oklahoma's playing better, and Alabama dog stomped them by 30. And I mean, I don't want to see that again.
No, yeah.
I don't want to see that again. And then next year we'll see their big running back Isaiah Spiller, who people go nuts about. I mean, don't wrong. It's not like he had a bad season, but he had 1,000 yards. Okay, that's it. 1,000 yards. Not fantastic.
No, you can't say that. You can't do that when you just said Kennedy Brooks is a former 1,000-yard rusher.
Well, he went 1,000 yards, and I'm not saying Isaiah Spiller. But again, I'm not saying Kennedy Brooks is going to win the Heisman.
No,
but people are sucking Isaiah Spiller's dick, and I'm like,
oh, okay.
Don't get me wrong. He's good. He's good.
Like holding him up like one of the best running backs in the country.
Yeah, like putting up there with like Najee Harris and Chuba Hubbard, or not Chuba Hubbard, Breece Hall.
Yeah,
Breece Hall and those guys. Like, no, you don't belong there, man. Like, you're a good back. Don't get me wrong, you're a very good back, but you're not there. And then next year, Kellen Mond declared for the NFL draft.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, so I don't even know who the hell their quarterbacks will be, but I think A&M's going to take a plunge next year. I think they're going to take a plunge.
We'll have to see. I didn't realize Kellen Mond actually declared.
He declared.
That is interesting.
Yeah, he declared today. I think it was. I saw it today.
Like, so it was interesting with Dak Prescott, because I remember Dak Prescott's last year in college. He had a very good year, and I actually in my mind thought he could be a. You there?
Yeah. I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. I was talking about Dak Prescott. Prescott's last year, and now he's where he's at now, and he's a phenomenal quarterback now. There's no doubt about that.
And the last time he was there also, like, I want to get like that running back. Oh my God, that Mississippi State running back. I forgot what he was. He was like number 10 or 13.
Oh, that's right. I always do that. I forgot he played at Mississippi State. I was thinking he played at A&M. That's because their colors are so damn close.
Oh yeah. No,
anyway,
I mean,
never mind.
A&M's. They had Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
Who has rejuvenated his career.
Yep.
At Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Not a fantastic quarterback, but
it helps when you got Derrick Henry as your running back.
Well, yeah, and he's got some weapons on the outside, but A&M's they're just not there yet.
Yeah, they could be. It's good, like you said. It all comes down to how they're going to do moving on from Kellen Mond. And Kellen Mond is a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback.
He's good, but he's gone. And looking at the stats, their backup apparently, Haynes King. I'm looking him up right now. Oh, wow, he looks like a goddamn fucking goober. Holy balls.
Wait, are you looking at Quinn Ewers, the guy who's coming in 2022 for us?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Ewers has nothing on this. Jimmy, you're on the chat, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Let me post this dude. Like, Ewers has nothing. And I'm sorry, folks, that you cannot read this. But... Jimmy, just people just go look up this guy. Like, holy balls!
You say that, watch him, and now he'll go off. Like Mac Jones. Like, people look at Mac Jones and they only see the numbers. If you look at him, he's not a physical specimen.
Jimmy, look at this.
I am looking at him. It's just interesting because Mac Jones doesn't look very daunting or intimidating, and he's a Heisman finalist.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't run. So, I mean, and I say that, and Haynes King was the number 5 dual-rate quarterback in the country. You look like a goober, kid. Prove me wrong. By all means, prove me wrong. You look like a fag.
We could go, well, here's the thing that we could talk about. We were talking about how bad the SEC fan base is and how it's kind of seeping into the players. Well, the players.
Hey, continue to talk.
Okay, and I wanted to go over the overall, the Power 5. The Power 5, you got the Big 12, Big 10, ACC, SEC, and Pac-12. And I wanted to go over their records in the bowl season. And Ross and I have had multiple conversations about you can go and just completely blow your conference out of the water. What it really comes down to is if you are a good team, is you can beat teams outside of your conference. That's why, in our opinion, those early season out of conference top 10 matchups are so important. But it's even more important at the end of the season when you've got a team that is now solidified in its play. It knows what its strengths are, its weaknesses, et cetera, et cetera. Bowl game matchups, out of conference bowl game matchups, can usually tell you whether your team is really, really good or not. Tremendously good or not. Or actually considered to be where they belong. I was just saying out of the Power 5 conferences. That's a part of it.
Well, no, and I agree with you, and I don't. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Bulls help a lot. But, I mean, sometimes the matchups...
Yeah, right. But the matchups are not controlled based off of the players or the coaches.
No.
And the matchups this year were so incredibly weird.
They were, but like for instance, like don't get me wrong, like oh god, I fucking hate doing this. Texas was a good football team.
Yes,
they were not what Texas wants, but they were a good football team.
Yes, I agree.
And they got matched up against Colorado. Not saying Colorado's bad, but hey, Texas kicked the shit out of them. And when I saw that, I didn't bat an eye.
I was not surprised. I was not surprised.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Pac-12
whoopee shit.
Starting behind the 8 ball this year.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Texas lost to TCU early in the season before they lost their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And then Texas lost to OU and Iowa State. That's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, OU, Iowa State, both very good football teams. By the way, Matt Campbell, we've talked about Matt Campbell. You love Matt Campbell. I like Matt Campbell.
I do.
I will say that for him to take them to win their first ever New Year's Day Bowl, that's huge. That's a big deal. Especially at Iowa State. That's a big deal. So I will give him that. It's still going to take a little while for me to, once he gets out of Iowa State, or if he even wins a Big 12 championship at Iowa State, I'll be even more impressed.
Right. Well, and next year, talking about that, Iowa State, everybody's coming back. Purdy's coming. He announced that he's coming back. Hall's coming back. The entire Iowa State team is coming back next year. But
that says something. That says something about him as a head coach. That really says something about him as a head coach, and that's just going to continue to add on to it because. And granted, Brock Purdy in his position, it's a very QB heavy class going into next year.
It is. That's true.
And he's did not have a great year. He's definitely didn't start off well. He's been playing well at the end, but.
Well, I think the biggest thing with Matt Campbell and why I like him so much, not that he's just a good football coach, because he's obviously a great football coach and a player's coach, but to put it in perspective, I mean, I don't know how if anybody listens to this, and if you don't, you can't even hear me, so whatever. So the people that listen to this, how long you've been watching college football, but for a long time, I would say, to say they were a joke was an understatement. Like, Iowa State and Kansas were down there as the bottom feeders.
Yes.
And Matt Campbell got hired 5 years ago. And he said that he walked into his locker room and looked at every single player and said, this program will be playing for a Big 12 championship sooner than you can imagine. And some players even laughed at the thought of it. 5 years later, Iowa State is 8-1 in conference and playing for a Big 12 championship. And it has players coming back to play for him.
Yeah, that's huge.
Like, that speaks wonders for him. Real quick, just because I'm looking at Texas, and fuck them all. I fucking hate them. But Herb Street brought it up. Texas needs to open their goddamn eyes. You're not a powerhouse.
Mm-mm.
You've never been a power. If you look at the last 60 years, you've been trash. Literally, look it up. I'm not making it up because I'm an OU fan. Look it up. They have been trash except when Mac Brown was there.
Yes.
They have not been good. This last year, they fired Tom Herman, which Tom Herman's a douche.
Agreed.
But, I mean, they went 7-3 and won the Alamo Bowl. They lost 3 games. They lost to TCU by 2 points. They lost to Oklahoma by a touchdown in quadruple overtime.
Great game, by the way.
Yeah, it was. And they lost to Iowa State by 3 points. And the coach got fired.
Mm-hmm.
That is just asinine. That's so stupid. They lost to the Iowa State's probably going to finish up, 8th in the country, 9th in the country, but when it's all over. OU was 6th when they played Florida. They're probably going to end up 3rd or 4th in the country.
Yeah.
So they lost to the number 3 team in the country in quadruple overtime. They lost to the 4th best or the 6th or 7th best team in the country by 3 points. And then they lost another game by 2 points.
They're in
That's
games.
not a bad. That's not a bad season.
Not to mention, Texas they have decent years, good years, not great years, obviously, but they're paying Tom Herman $15 million not to coach there anymore.
Yeah.
Like they're like Herman, you want to talk about taking the L? Man, oh man, that's bad.
Yeah. So for you guys that don't know as much about this as me, because I'm Big 12, and Jimmy obviously knows because he plays Texas college football. So Texas is probably the hardest coaching job in all of America.
Yes.
Because the oil tycoons and the boosters there, they give you a shit ton of money. There's a reason you can go anywhere in the country and you'll see a Longhorn shirt somewhere or a Longhorn hat somewhere. There's a reason Texas has got all this spread. It's because they spend all this fucking money. But because they spend this money, they think they have a say in how the program is run.
Right.
And, I mean, it's what drove Mac.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this. Texas is kind of a big deal. Football is kind of a big deal in Texas. A little bit.
It's a little bit of a big deal. There's a reason that every college football program, even Ohio State, who's way up north, when they go recruiting, they dive deep into Texas.
They're very good at recruiting out of Texas, by the way.
Yeah, the players that come out of Texas is just idiotic.
Yeah.
The way Texas is just, they need to open their goddamn eyes. I don't think Steve Sarkisian's the answer. And this is a squirrel. We're getting on the Big 12. But yeah, they're not going to be good for a while. And I do think looking at the Big 12 and looking at we could talk about this a little bit, Jimmy. Don't want to hit too long because we're coming up.
Yeah, we're getting a little long.
Things, but yeah, I think Big 12 moving forward can be a very good conference. I think the Big 10 moving forward. I think Penn State hiring
Mike Yurcich.
Great hire. It's going to be very interesting to see how he does it. And Ohio State's going to be good. Other than that, I don't see a lot of movement. I don't see Big Ten having powerhouses. No. Indiana, I think, Indiana, no offense to Indiana, they were a good football team. They were not great. They were a good football team. They did play a sub 500 team in the bowl game in Ole Miss and lost. They're good. Let's not blow it out of proportion.
Didn't have their quarterback. Michael Penix was out.
Right. And I will still say that it was a fucking fluke. Michael Penix, okay, whatever, but look at his stats. They're not even Heisman. They're not great. They're good.
Yeah.
He's a good player. I think Indiana takes a huge drop back next year. I think it's Ohio State and Penn State next year, with Ohio State sweeping the table.
You're not hearing any complaints from me.
Right. Bummer. But yeah, we'll do a little.
That's frustrating because Big Ten was starting to come around. They were starting to get more teams that were getting up there. But this year, man. Let's segue that into the records for the bowl season then, by conference.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Or by
absolutely.
Power 5. By Power 5.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll start off. Pac-12. They only had 2 teams in, Oregon and Colorado. Both lost their games, and I kind of give Pac-12 a little bit of a pass this year just because they started so far behind the 8 ball this year.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
They
and
did.
and it takes teams a little while to get their footing, right? And they just
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
get it. Like their conference champion Oregon didn't even earn their way into the championship game. Like
They didn't win
they didn't win their division.
division.
Washington couldn't play
And
in
they
the
weren't the highest
championship.
rated players.
Yeah, Washington.
They weren't even the highest rated team.
Like Washington couldn't field a team against USC, so they just went with the next one down. That was Oregon.
Right.
SEC, 8 teams in the bowls, but go 6-2, so that's pretty good.
But again, like that goes back to this matchup shit that I'm talking about. Like when they're like, oh well, we went 8-2. I'm like, all right, well, who the fuck did you play?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
one of them being Georgia and Cincinnati Could have won that game. Georgia did a very good job of defensively of shutting down. Cincinnati blew it, but that was a close game. Cincinnati's a very good football team. By the way, Cincinnati, Marcus Freeman is now the new defensive coordinator at Notre Dame.
Right. Yeah. I mean, looking at the big ones. I mean, Florida got smacked, obviously.
Yep.
Northwestern smacked Auburn. Cincinnati, Georgia, nail biter.
Yep.
Right there.
Very good game.
Yeah. A&M, North Carolina, 41-27 was closer than it was. A&M kind of pulled away in the fourth quarter, but North Carolina was right there.
Yes.
But I mean, like Kentucky beat NC State. Who gives a shit?
So with that being said, ACC goes 0-6. They didn't win a bowl game.
And they played some bad teams.
Yeah. NC State, there's no excuse why NC State should be losing to Kentucky. And Kentucky's not a bad football team. They're just not a very good one. No. Like they're like, I'm not gonna look at them and be like, oh man, Kentucky, because Kentucky of the old days, Kentucky's a basketball school, straight up, but their football team is serviceable. Every once in a while, they're gonna be
Stoops boy. Stoopsy's got him going.
And every couple of years they're gonna be top class. You know, they're gonna be like junior and senior heavy. Like the year that did they win 10 games? When Benny Snell was there?
Yes, I think they went 10-2.
Yeah, they won 10 games because they were like one of the oldest teams in the entire country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's they're gonna be up and down. But they're coached well.
Right. Well, and looking at the ACC, like now, like don't get me wrong. I mean, like Clemson. Okay, so Clemson lost. Miami played Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was ranked 21 in the country. They are a better team in that ranking.
Yes.
They have a very, very good offense. But, I mean, it was a 3-point game, and Chuba Hubbard sat out, and Tylan Wallace didn't play 3 quarters.
Yeah.
That probably should have been a lot worse. When Tylan Wallace played, which, by the way, if anybody's watching, look up Tylan Wallace. He is a stud. He's going to be a beast in the NFL.
Somebody's probably going to get him for a deal.
Yeah, he is a fantastic wide receiver. So that game should have been worse. I mean, but there's a game like this is what I'm talking about matchups. Like it counts as a loss for the ACC, but Wisconsin played Wake Forest and Wisconsin won.
Yeah. Why is Wake Forest in there?
Yeah, it's like
why is Wake Forest in a bowl game?
Yeah, that's what I was like. Okay, who gives a shit? Like, I would have bet a lot of money saying Wisconsin's going to win that game. And they kicked the shit out of him. So, so when you're talking about the bowl games and the matchups, like
this year was weird.
Get some. Well, they're all weird. This one's weirder, but like, there's always like, minus the New Year's Six, there's about 3 or 4 games that like piqued my interest big time. I mean, like this year, Oklahoma State, Miami, I thought was gonna be a fantastic game. Yeah, it ended up being a 3-point game. I was happy with that.
And that's with King was out. Like their star was out.
King got hurt in the middle of the game. Yes, King got hurt.
Tore his ACL, unfortunately.
So, side note on that. tip my hat to Gundy because I thought Tylan Wallace, and a lot of people, if you don't know Tylan Wallace, like he played the first half and then he didn't play the second half, and everybody's like, "Why the hell did you like this? Is quitting on your team?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?" Apparently, what happened, from what I've heard now, being an Oklahoma insider and knowing that, like, is right before the first half ended, King got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It was like with 2 minutes left. They went into halftime. Mike Gundy went up to Tylan Wallace and just said, "I'm going to leave it up to you. If you want to play, you can play. However, you're going to be one of the top wide receivers off the board in the NFL draft, and we appreciate everything you've done for our program. You're one of the best wide receivers. If you want to take your helmet off, nobody's going to be mad at you."
Wow.
Seeing what happened with King.
Yeah.
And Tylan Wallace.
That's one thing that nobody can ever say about Mike Gundy, that he doesn't care about his players.
Yeah, and Tylan
If you
Wallace
guys
said,
don't know, if you don't want to, if you want some history on that,
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40, and that was because somebody was talking crap about his quarterback in the newspapers. Granted, newspapers meant a lot more back then than they do now. But yeah,
Yes.
he was livid. He definitely is out for his
that was
players.
the best thing. Yeah, go look at that because it's one of the greatest things ever. Oklahoma State won by 30 points, and he walked to the podium, and before anybody can answer a question, he goes, "I'm not going to say a goddamn thing about the game. I want to talk about this."
Yeah.
And he held up the news article, and he went off on the chick. And I know who she is, and I've actually met her before, and she's actually a sweet girl, very nice.
This is a bad sports writer.
It was a bad sports writer.
Bad take. One bad take, which
it was a bad take, and Mike Gundy went off on her. So, so we have the SEC. Big Ten did pretty well in the bowl.
Yep, 3-1.
Didn't they? 3-1.
Indiana was the only loss. It was Northwestern, Ohio State, and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Granted, those are the only three teams that deserve to be in it all. To any bowl.
I will say I am a little upset about seeing Penn State opt out. Not that I don't understand it. I do get it. I just think that the way they started the season and the way they ended it, I think they could have played in a bowl game and won.
Yeah.
Like playing as shitty as they could, or as shitty as they did, could have ended up with a winning record, which would have been awesome. Yeah, and I would have liked to see those players get that.
From what I understand, they took a team vote. And I'm not gonna fault them for that. I'm not gonna fault them for taking a team vote because they were one of the teams that didn't have any single positive case at all. So they were in extreme isolation. Yeah. And they're going into the holidays. They're like, no, we want to go see our families. I'm not gonna fault them for that.
Right. Yeah. I don't blame them for that and all that. So, but yeah, I would have liked to see Penn State in the game. That's the one thing. Just for, like I said. As shitty as they started, would have liked to see them finish with a winning record. Not just for Penn State, but also for Ryan.
For his sanity.
For his sanity. That would have been a nice end to the season. Like, all right, we played shitty, but, we still finished 5-4.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. But moving on. But the big winners of the Power 5 conferences, your boys, the Big 12.
Yeah. Big 12. So, like, this is, in the big scheme of things, like, people, like, what, the question is, what does this mean?
Right.
Like, really, and, no, Big 12 doesn't get any more money or anything like that because, we won more, but what means is, like, the SEC and the recruiting and all this stuff. If we want to start winning the recruiting battles, you got to start by winning on the field,
right?
And does this mean anything? No, but if the Big 10 or the Big 12 goes 6-1 next year and 5-2 the next year, then okay, people are going to start noticing that,
right?
And the recruits are going to start flowing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super happy the way the Big 12 had, and I think the Big 12 it's gonna be a conference that like people need to notice next year. Oklahoma's bringing back everybody. Iowa State's bringing back everybody. Oklahoma State's losing a couple players, but they got their quarterback and their defense coming back. Kansas State, what's that dude's name from North Dakota State?
Um,
The coach.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
Cleanse something.
Kleinman.
Kleinman, yes. As much as I like Matt Campbell, I might like Kleinman more. He's great. So I think the Big 12's going to be good. But yeah, I just this year was just so weird. So I'm not going to read too much into going 5-0 in the bowls.
Yeah, this year's weird, but the eyes are there, and we had talked about it earlier in the year. I thought the Big 12, even though they were very likely not going to be putting a team into the playoff, had the most interesting road to the championship game.
Oh yeah, we talked about it for the last like 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Yeah. Like, yeah, we're not going to get in the playoffs.
It was wide open. It was wide open. It was like who's going to be in that game. It was great.
It was like we got 4 teams here that like God knows how that's just going to end up.
It was great. All right, we're getting long, so let's move on. Let's finish it up. You want to talk basketball a little bit?
Well, yeah. So basketball, just hitting it up a little bit. College basketball, full swing, going in. I will say the 2 top conferences right now, Big 10 and Big 12 are actually the monsters right now. And from what I've read and what they're saying, and this is not just me, it's Big 10 is quantity, Big 12 is quality.
Right.
Big 10, I lost track. They've got like 6 or 7 teams in the top 25.
Yeah.
Which is just asinine. But Big 12 has got the number 2 team, the number 4 team, the number 6 team, the number 10 team, the number 11 team. Yeah, I mean,
I'd put Big 12 on that one.
Yeah, the Big 12's got a lot of teams between 1 and 14, and they got nobody.
Yeah.
The Big 10's got a couple teams in the top 15, and they've got like 5 from like 15 to like 25.
Yeah.
So that just all that means is the conference championship game in the Big 12, that tournament's gonna be fun in the Big 10. That Big 10 tournament's gonna be fun. Mm-hmm. So is the Big 12. Big News telling Jimmy about it. As much as we have this as a college football podcast, the greatest sporting event of all time, in my mind and a lot of minds, is March Madness. Mm-hmm. It is the ultimate. And it's happening, people. We are having a March Madness as of right now, unless shit hits the fan. It's all going to be in Indianapolis, which who gives it? I watch it on TV. I don't go to games, so I don't give a fuck where it happens. Yeah. As long as it happens, I can watch it on TV. I don't care if it happens in goddamn Barbados.
Still got 66 teams vying for a national championship.
I really don't care.
And you win, you lose, you're out.
It's literally about who gets hot at the right time, and it's so much fun. But it is happening. It will be in Indianapolis, so we are going to have March Madness, which is great. Talking about the NBA, very early in the season, a couple surprises. Phoenix is up there. Not shocking. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are butting heads.
Imagine that. Who would have thought? I mean, besides everybody.
Yeah, like that's not surprising at all. And I mean, as of right now, they're 5-5 with 2 of the best players in the world. So we'll see what's going to happen. The NBA is going to be incredibly interesting moving forward. A little shorter season, kind of like last year, but
better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. Got an NBA season going forward. So, before we get to the, I know Jimmy, you got a little quick hit on the baseball. Well, I was going to say before that, we have NFL playoffs going on.
They're over it. All the games as of today, which is Saturday, their games are over.
Half the playoffs are over. We got Buffalo moving on, the Rams moving on, Tampa Bay moving on. Which none of those games today really blew my mind. I think tomorrow with Baltimore and Tennessee is going to be a great game, super great game. Cleveland and Pittsburgh at the end of the day. I mean, that's a divisional game. It's going to be super interesting.
Yeah, the last time they played, Pittsburgh almost won without their quarterback, without most of their starting offensive line, without their star, without T.J. Watt. and Pittsburgh was in line to possibly win that game. Cleveland is going into that game. So Pittsburgh's going to have their entire starting team, obviously. Cleveland's going to have all their starters, but they don't have their head coach.
Which, I mean, I haven't seen the awards this year, but to me, Stefanski, hands down, Coach of the Year.
I agree. I agree.
And I don't think it's even fucking close.
Yeah.
I mean, when you take the Browns to 11-5, you deserve.
Considering
Coach
how
of the
bad
Year.
they were last year, and then they had all the same players this year, except their star wide receiver who tore his ACL early on, and they go 11-5. That's impressive.
That's incredibly impressive. So yeah, I think that game's gonna be super interesting. So yeah, NFL going forward gonna be fun. We got the playoffs going with football there. We got the college football national championship. A lot of football in the last couple months. So like you said, Jimmy, starting out the season in football, it's a lot of fun right now. A lot of fun. But moving on, baseball.
Real quick,
big news.
Yeah,
huge news if you're a baseball fan.
Yeah, if you are a baseball fan, which there's not many of us left, but I don't care. The Cleveland Indians. Oh, I was going to say thank you to Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco. Both of them, Carlos Carrasco, a top end pitcher. He was not the ace in Cleveland, but he was very good. He was a top 3. And our star shortstop, Francisco Lindor, MLB All-Star. And
side note, I was gonna say, when you say star shortstop, that's an understatement.
That is an understatement. He's one of the faces of baseball right now. There's multiple faces of baseball, and he's one.
Yeah, when you put, oh man, if you want to say like, take away pitchers, top 5 players in baseball, field players in baseball, he's in that category.
Yeah, Judge, Trout, Lindor,
Betts.
Harper because of his star power,
but if you have a conversation of best field players in baseball, Francisco Lindor is easily in that conversation.
Yes, and Cookie Carrasco and Frankie have both been traded by the Indians to the New York Mets for prospects, and
a couple players that are decent.
Yes, yeah, decent. And I am not surprised. It's what Cleveland does. So I'm not going to sit here and say, Cleveland, what are you doing? Like, I get it. I understand it. Because Francisco Lindor was coming up on a contract. And like you said, he was one of the top 5 on-field players. And he's going to be asking for a shitload of money. But I think I lost Ross. All right. We cut out again. All right, we're back. And we're back.
I
was saying I am not surprised. This is a Cleveland move.
It is. Like, and Greg,
it's a
the only thing that, like, I'm not going to say it bothers me because I'm not a Cleveland fan. I don't give a fuck. Because you always end up playing my Yankees, so I'd rather you guys be shitty. Because it always seems to be Yankees, Indians at some point in the playoffs. So I'd rather you guys be where we could beat you.
Well, it's not going to be this year.
But I didn't, obviously not in the front office. I don't know the other offers. And not to dog the players you guys got. I just, like, for a player like Francisco Lindor, I thought you guys would get a lot more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Cleveland's not going to be good for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just
like they're going to have Jose Ramirez and good pitching, and
like. I'm not saying the Yankees would have done it, and I don't know, but and the contracts and all the money, but like, if
can I? You know what? Can I put it in perspective for you in terms of money? So for the 2021 season, as of right now, based on the roster that is in Cleveland right now, Mike Trout is going to make $37 million for this 1 year.
Yeah.
The entire roster for Cleveland right now, $37 million.
Right. But like, just on talent, like, if the Yankees would have traded Giancarlo Stanton for Lindor. Like a guy that mashes home runs left and right. I would have gone, okay, like I'll accept it. Like that's a good trade. They get a massive power hitter, and we get a guy we're about to have to pay out the ass. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I just kind of and I just do it because the Yankees. I know I'm sure there's a lot of other players like that like they could have. I'm just not impressed with what they got. Like I think they could have got some better talent that could help them win now.
Oh no. I don't think so. It's what Cleveland does. Cleveland goes for the guys who have potential, and they're very good at it.
They are.
Do you remember? It was I can't remember who it was. I think it was. So Grady Sizemore was one of the best five-tool players in baseball for a little while before he started getting injuries. He came over in the trade for Bartolo Colon in Montreal. He was a prospect. Let's see who else. Corey Kluber came over in a trade. Oh, I can't remember. He was not a prospect. He wasn't like the Indians don't draft well, but
like all
they bring
but all these trades you're talking about, even with like, are you ever talking about one of the top 5 players in baseball you're trading?
Well, Lindor was not. Yeah, well, that's the thing is Lindor wasn't in from a trade.
No. What I'm saying is when you give up a player asking for like all these prospects, every time you've got prospects back, you've never been trading one of the top 5 players in baseball. Like
that's not true. CC Sabathia.
Oh no.
Cliff Lee.
We're talking like I was talking about position players, not pitchers. Have you ever had not ever because Indians are a great franchise. When was the last time you had a guy, position player, of this caliber?
We've got 2. We had 2 of them over the past several years.
Who?
Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor. Jose Ramirez just finished second in MVP.
Okay, so you've had one other than Lindor.
Well, Brantley wasn't there. He was
Brantley's a good player.
Well, he had Brantley was a potential MVP, but then he just get hurt.
Stop. Brantley,
and he's still
Brantley is a good player. He is not Francisco Lindor. Do not put that in the same.
He finished 3rd in MVP voting.
He's not Francisco Lindor.
No, he's not. He was on the path.
I don't care about path. I'm talking about when was the last time you traded a guy? When you traded him, he was a top 5 positional player in the league, if not better.
That's you can't really say that because we haven't had.
And that's the point. That's what I'm saying. The Indians, you guys trade a lot of players that have high ceilings that become that.
Yes, it's a farm system for other teams. Yeah,
yeah, I know the Yankees in specific, but
no, that's not true.
Shut up, Jimmy. But Lindor is so he's not a guy like let's see what his ceiling is going to be. I'm not saying he's at a ceiling, but I'm like he's already at that MVP level. There's not here's this guy, give us a couple prospects, we'll give you this guy that there's a good chance he can be there. Francisco Lindor, every team had to be give me this motherfucker. Give me this dude. I want him.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, again, I don't know what the talks were. I know with Dodger talk, Cleveland wanted Gavin Lux. And if you don't know who Gavin Lux is, I think he's the top prospect in the Dodger system.
Yeah, I think that would be the great.
And they didn't want to get right, but they weren't willing to give him up.
To be and granted it's the Dodgers and I don't get anything, but it's don't wrong. I like Gavin Lux. I think he's a great player. I think he should be a fantastic player in the league. But if you ask me, like, all right, I'll give you Francisco. Like, if you're talking about putting fucking Francisco Lindor and Mookie Betts in the same lineup.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking idiotic. That's so stupid. I'd say yes to that in a goddamn heartbeat. I don't care if it's Gavin Lux. Like, that's just stupid.
Well, I'm confused. What are you saying is stupid?
That the Dodgers should have gave.
You don't understand
the
why.
Dodgers should have given up Lux to get Lindor.
I tell you what, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Lindor that they weren't able to get more out of it, because they should be getting a shit.
Right, and that's my point.
And they did get some players that were with like high within their prospect system. So we'll see. And that's the thing is with Cleveland, they struck magic when they had Lindor and Jose Ramirez on the same team at the same time. 2016 was a magic team because Cleveland's roster that might have been the highest their payroll has been ever, right? And bringing in Andrew Miller, Edwin Carcino, those are big deals, and that's what led to them, making the World Series.
And how'd that work out?
I went to Game 7, tied it up. Rajai Davis, that was huge.
Yeah.
They almost won. You got to understand, like, they were over $100 million less in payroll to the Cubs. The Cubs were the clear favorite in that, right? And everybody loves the fact that the Cubs finally won their World Series, but nobody looks at the fact that Cleveland was the underdogs, and they took them to Game 7. They had them up 3-1. They could have won, but they screwed it up. Well, they didn't screw it up. It's because the Cubs are way better.
Well, to say, I'm going to quote Moneyball and Brad Pitt. If you lose the last game of the year,
Nobody cares.
Nobody gives a shit.
I don't care. I don't
Nobody
care.
gives a shit if you lose the last game of the year.
I don't care. I give a shit. I give a shit because that shouldn't happen. That should not have happened, but it did. So I'm going to give them, if they would have won, everybody would have been like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Or would they have been like, damn it, the Chicago Cubs. Here's the fact.
Cubs losing.
The Chicago Cubs were the focus.
Because
the Cubs would have been like, oh, them lovable losers. There they go again. Congratulations, Indians. You probably didn't deserve to win that World Series. That's what it would have been.
This is the Cubbies. I was rooting for
because it's the Cubbies.
I was rooting for the Cubbies.
No, you're not.
I was. Yes, I was.
Because that's what everybody was.
I was rooting for the Cubbies.
Even though they were over $200 million payroll and a better team than the Indians.
Team in Chicago. I was rooting for the Cubbies. First Major League Baseball game I ever went to in my life, my aunt and uncle took me to Wrigley to watch the Cubbies, and I remember specifically Ryan Sandberg hitting a home run in that game. So, awesome. I'm not a Cubbies fan, but I got a little soft spot for the Cubbies. A little soft spot for the Cubbies. And I remember, I bought, because I was super young, I bought like a batting glove that had the Cubs logo. And I didn't keep it, but I didn't keep it as a memento. I wore it.
That's childhood.
I wore it. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, we're getting long. Let's close this out.
All right, yeah, close it out. Baseball moving forward. Pitchers and catchers will be about 2.5 months. They'll be reporting. So baseball's coming back up. NBA is gonna be a full swing by then. Got football coming out. Right now it's football, man. I can't say it enough. I'm super stoked about football. We got college football national championship in a couple of days. We got the playoffs going on, which I think, as good as the Chiefs are, there's a lot of open things. I think it's gonna be a very interesting playoffs. Now, I'm just gonna say it. Watch out for fucking Tom Brady. Can't get him in the playoffs. Don't count him out. But yeah, that's what we got. Hopefully, we get Ryan back next week.
Yes.
We can, holidays are down, or calm down, so we can get back into a more weekly schedule. You guys will start hearing our annoying asses more often.
Yeah. And we will continue to just talk for entirely too long like we did tonight. Hopefully we'll be a little bit more structured than that. I don't know how many people were listening to our hot takes.
Ooh.
If you have not heard, we did some hot takes. We did them for, they're like 7-8 minute long videos on YouTube. Go ahead, check them out. We just covered the bowl games that were coming up. We'd like to do more, but our recording kind of broke down on us. So
don't say our.
Did 3.
You're recruiting.
Are you recording?
I'm recording right now.
Was I recording?
Yes.
Yeah. So our recording.
Jimmy's a douche.
Anyway. Oh, I did want to shout out one last thing real quick before we sign off here. Dave Portnoy, the president of Barstool Sports, opened up something called the Barstool Fund. I'll probably add a link to it. It's really awesome. It is a crowd-funded organization. I think he's at, last time I saw it was up to like $20 million. And what he's doing, he's taking that money and he's helping small businesses stay afloat during the pandemic.
Super awesome.
And that is huge. I think it's one of the coolest things ever. If you know Portnoy or El Presidente, for people who do know him, he's kind of a jackass, but he's a lovable jackass and he's honest and he's doing a really cool thing for small businesses. So like I said, I'll add a link to the in the info below. If you want to give, go ahead, give and help keep the backbone of this country alive. You know, the small businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's all I got. So we will see you on the next one. Go Buckeyes.
Roll time.
Oh,
I'm kidding. Fuck the time. Go Buckeyes. I am the Buckeyes. And I'm not putting any money on this game, so I'm rooting for you guys. So.
All right. And now
mic drop.
Out.
Bitches.